building on that, and you mentioned it, recognition of prior learning earlier. Yeah, prior learning. That is another way that micro-credentials and skills as well can help capture and define that.
Again, unfortunately, RPL is avoided by institutions. It's acknowledged as needed on the one hand, but then there are no good systems for RPL in operation in any university or TAFE college or RTO that I know of. If you know of one, let me know. But I don't know anyone who's doing a really great job of recognition of prior learning. And in that institutional sense, what I think is we need to get people more comfortable as individuals in recognizing their own learning. And perhaps what we're missing therefore is a shift in locus from, people have always talked about becoming more student-centered, but that's often rhetoric, So we're a student-centered organization, otherwise, and we have apple pie and ice cream at lunchtime, and like it's kind of rhetorical. I think what student-centered really means is we let learners have the tools to recognize their own learning. Now, there's a radical idea, and yet I reckon it's a much closer idea philosophically to the way we live. If you want to ask me whether I can do something, I'll tell you.
Right.
And you pretty much trust me.
True.
Sure. The proof will be in the pudding, but you'll pretty much trust me that if I say I can do something, I can do that.
Right. And it's interesting that the statistics back up what you're saying. So last July, we conducted some market research of more than 1,000 graduates, and only 33% felt comfortable voicing their skills for their first job search. So again, even having that ability, that metacognition, the awareness of what skills that I have, they can often more easily say what they've done, but what does that mean? What skills do they have? So I think that's an area that so many of us and so many organizations are focused on building that self-awareness, but also the systems and processes to identify them.
That's it. And I think moving forward, that's the work we have to do as a society, is to reinvent education as a self-awareness tool, as a self-recognition tool. And there's going to be a lot of people who say to me, well, how can you self-recognize as a surgeon, as a brain surgeon? Well, no, of course you need appropriate measures and checks and balances about those skills. But that's like, not all of us are going to be brain surgeons, right? But a lot of what we're doing, we are more fundamental life skills, they call them now, there's a nice jargon term, 21st century skills, critical reasoning, problem solving. There are ways in which we can build our own portfolio of evidence around those and show our own progress, which is the other thing that's not done very well. Is I learn something new every day. I don't know about you, I hope you do. And I get better at everything I do every day, or maybe
I can tell you, I may learn something every day. I don't get better at everything, at something every day.
I was going to say some things are in decline. I'm not as good a tennis player as I used to be, I can tell you that for sure. But I think that, this movement, this notion of progress and movement in our capability, we don't have any institutions or ways of recognizing that. It's all hearsay, and so I think we've got a lot of work to do to get our education tools up to date and useful in the 21st century. They're just not useful right now. And our institutions of recognition, they might as well be, the 18th century British Post Office in terms of how close they are to the current, environment of where we're working in. They're just not close, and not.
Fortunately, there are lots of fantastic groups such as Education Design Labs, Council for Aid to Education, who are really focused on helping define and architect what those 21st century skills are and how you assess against those skills. But still, the big then question is how do we embed those frameworks, those structures into education and then assess against those.
And there's a lot of talk about Web 2 and Web 3 and the notions of identity going forward, and how do I prove that I can do something? And how can that proof be relied on? And I think it's a very nuanced area, and sadly, not enough people, not enough money being invested in this. And if it is, it's all opportunistic. It's all about, did that investment in vocational research get more jobs? You know, it's not about, are we equipping people to work better in their global gig economy? No, right. No one's thinking like that. No, too few people thinking like that. What they're mostly thinking about is investing in simple economic measures, not enough in social measures of progress and growth. I think that is a bit of a political statement, but I think it's globally, it's universally true. In other words, it's not party politics. It's just universally true. We've got some work to do as a society to get back to these kind of values of progressive education. Yeah.